Hello everybody! Welcome to English for Starters for the 11th grade, the scientific section.
Computers. In this episode, we're going to talk about Charles Babbage counting machine, early computers, from large machines to small, further information on computers.
Not long ago, all letters were written by hand or on typewriters, and information was held mainly in libraries. Affordable personal computers only appeared in the 1980s, followed by the internet and email a few years later. It is easy to forget how recent these inventions are. In this interesting lesson, we are going to talk about the history of computers.
Charles Babbage. In 1943, Thomas J. Watson, who started the company IBM, said that he thought there was a world market for about 5 computers. He was very wrong. There are now over 100 million personal computers in use around the world, as well as the bigger computers used by large organizations.
In 1822, in England, Charles Babbage began working on a counting machine. He was given £1,500 of government money to complete the job, and worked on it for the next 10 years. This became known as the difference engine number 1.
The government's patience finally ended in 1834, when Babbage still hadn't finished building it, but had planned the first programmable computer. This included programs written using cards with holes in them, a reader which was able to get results from the information, and a memory, all things that were found in later computers.
Babbage asked the government for money to make the new machine, but was refused. He then built the difference engine number 2, at 2 meters high. This was a slightly smaller and much simpler model, which used only a small number of the 25,000 parts in the first machine. In 1991, 100 years after Babbage's death, a copy was built using his plans. It did what Babbage said it would do.
Babbage wasn't recognized in his lifetime. Very few people knew about his work, and most of them weren't interested. Early computers.
Later in the 19th century, in the US, Herman Hollerith used cards with holes when he invented a machine to count government figures more quickly. The 1880 population count had taken 8 years, and people were worried that the 1890 one would take even longer. Hollerith's machine, which used electricity to read, sort, and count the cards, did the job in a year.
The English mathematician Alan Turing led the move towards a machine that was able to think in a real way He wrote a paper about a machine that could read and write information with a memory to hold it in a central processor and a program of mathematical commands.
This became known as a Turing machine. This was the real start of the computer age. During the Second World War, Turing worked on reading secret German messages.
The work also included the building of a simple computer. After the war, he used his knowledge of mathematics to write the first programming languages.
In Germany, Konrad Zuse started work on his first mechanical computer in 1934. But 2 years later, he changed to using electrical connections. In 1940, the war interrupted the building of his third computer. But after a year, he left the army and completed the Z3, an electrical machine which was controlled by a program. The German Air Force helped him, and the Z3 was used to help build aeroplanes and the V-2 rockets. At the end of the war, Zuse's latest machine was taken to Switzerland to be finished. This was the Z4, the first fully programmable computer. It had a mechanical memory of 1024 words.
From large machines to small.
The first of the modern all-electronic computers was the ENIAC, built at the University of Pennsylvania. It was begun in 1943 and used by the US Army. It was 150 square meters in size and needed an enormous amount of electricity. It also became very hot, which was a great problem.
The first computer for business use, the UNIVAC, was also used to count population. It became famous when it said that Dwight D. Eisenhower would win the race to become president in 1952. Its operators refused to believe this and programmed it for a more likely result. When Eisenhower won easily, somebody said, "The problem with machines is people."
In the late 1950s, the transistor was invented. This was cheaper, smaller, and worked better than the old electronic connections. In 1958, Jack St. Clair Kilby of Texas Instruments had the idea of putting a few transistors together on a board. Today, hundreds of thousands of electronic parts can be put together on a board that is no more than 1 centimeter square.
Among a number of computer hobbyists in California were Bill Gates and Paul Allen, who started Microsoft. IBM, which had seen the success of the Apple II, was interested in selling its own machine. Microsoft was given the job of writing the operating system. IBM could use this system, but not own it. So, Microsoft received $10 for every copy sold. IBM had failed to realize that systems, not machines, were going to make money in the future. This was possibly the biggest mistake in the history of computers.
Checkpoint. Who is Bill Gates?
Bill Gates co-founded Microsoft with Paul Allen. He also refocused Microsoft on the development of software solutions for the Internet.
Further information on computers.
Computers are different from calculators because they can both store and use programs. Alan Turing wrote a paper in which he said that any computer of a minimum capability was in theory capable of doing the same as another far more advanced computer, so long as processing time and storage capacity did not matter. He had realized the full potential of computers. Turing also designed a very important test for artificial intelligence. Today, computers are made small enough to fit into a child's toy or into a watch, and they can be powered by a small battery. Computers are vital today, and many people have one. Laptop computers allow people to work anywhere, and now information can be passed from one computer to another using wireless connections. There are many different types of computers, but they all have vital features in common. Here we come to the end of this episode. For any questions or suggestions, please contact us on the following addresses. See you. Bye-bye.